Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God!
Here we go, here we go.
You're listening to the Pod Street Blues Podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Pod Street Pregame. I am John, and I'm here with my good friend Matt Casey. What's going on, brother?
How's it going? We got 2 nights in a row. This is it's a lot of Matt and John time.
I find that this has been happening a lot recently, where it's like we always get the game where the preview is right after the show.
Right.
And that second request with your wife, like, I'm gonna have to go back into the basement another night for like a half an hour or so.
But this is a quick one. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah. And then I just realized I was drinking tea out of my wife's mug. So don't judge on the heart shapes all over this thing for the listeners.
I honestly don't even know if I would have noticed.
Yeah.
I just nonchalantly slurp tea out of your heart mug.
Had to address it, otherwise I would have had a complex about it the whole show.
I hear you, man. All right, so this game that we're about to preview, I am dubbing, and very overdramatically, the most important game of the Philadelphia Flyers season, obviously, to this point. And we're talking about tomorrow night against the New Jersey Devils, the 10-11-5 New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils that haven't won a game since they beat the Philadelphia Flyers the last time, who I believe hadn't won a game since they beat the Philadelphia Flyers the last time.
It's brutal.
But
I mean,
yeah.
We're like we're the personal slump buster of the New Jersey Devils, and you look at that game a week. Was it a week ago? When the hell?
Yeah,
a week ago.
Was it last Wednesday?
Maybe. And as I said last night on our bigger show, like that was arguably the worst hockey game I have watched in probably a decade, and it was really just both teams not playing well. Of course, if we had come away with a 1-0 win, I would have been like, oh, wow, what a defensively sound performance or something like that. But we had no energy, looked like crap. They didn't look much better, but they could at least net some behind our goaltender. And, so we've lost 2 in a row to the Devils, which is depressing.
Right. And I mean, it's interesting, too, because when you really look at it, right, obviously we've won our last 2 games. We already know we beat Vegas. We beat the Arizona Coyotes, where it's like, okay, that's like half a win in reality. Right. But they've lost 2 straight games since the Flyer game, right? They played Nashville and they played the Islanders on a back-to-back. Nashville, to my understanding, is playing pretty well.
They just beat the Rangers last night, I think.
So, yeah. And I think it's another situation where they're performing much better than anybody was expecting. Remember last year where they were all like, blow it up, and then they turned it around? Yep. I think that people were expecting more of the blow it up scenarios this season. And
sounds familiar, huh? Sounds familiar.
Right. But then they played the Islanders, who the Islanders are literally the only other worse team than the Flyers.
And I know we're not going to talk too much about the Islanders, but like, I don't get what changed in them. Like, how did they get that much worse? I don't believe they did, but
I mean, you could sing 13 road games to start the season or something crazy. Then they got hit with COVID. But I always wondered too, and again, we don't want to really talk about the Islanders, but I always wonder with teams like that where it's like you truly don't have an offensive identity. They just play their style very well,
right?
But you always wonder when that's going to break, right? I just don't think that's very sustainable. But anyway,
speaking of lack of offensive identity, let's talk about this game,
right? And that's the thing. Like I don't even know what to expect with this game because hypothetically, right, you want to see a Flyers team that's like, okay, we've just won 2 straight under our new head coach.
Mhm.
We're coming home. We've got a pretty easy schedule coming up. It's time.
Mhm.
I want, you would assume they'd come out hungry. They would put a lot of shots on goal early. But this is the Philadelphia Flyers we're talking about. And every time we think that they're going to come out hungry, they don't exist until, 10
Throw
minutes
us a
left
little
in the third
curveball,
period.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it comes down to competitiveness and energy that we obviously didn't see last week, but we did see, that Vegas game that we just played, that was different from the moment the puck dropped. And
Right.
again, I can't take too much out of the Phoenix game other than, hey, great, we won and we did pretty well there.
Right.
But that Vegas game, the energy and the competitiveness was there, and you could just tell they're like, we are not going to lose tonight. And that's what I really do want to see out of this Flyers team tomorrow night. It's home. They've had, they had a travel day on Sunday. They had a lighter practice today. The meat grinder schedule that we have just been through for 4 weeks, basically at this point.
Right.
Which culminated last week in that 5 games in 7 nights or 8 nights, whatever it was. It's over. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're getting a little bit healthier. You're getting scoring. $7 million
Practice
man,
time.
James Van Riemsdyk, is actually potting some goals. Like, okay, let's
Right.
get it going. And so I think the stars are aligning in their favor. But as he said, they could show up tomorrow and just, fall all over the ice
Right.
like District 7 from Mighty Ducks.
And what I'm interested to see is like now they've had 2 days with no games where Mike Yo is a little bit able to put a little bit more yo into it, right? Just he can yo it
Give
up.
some more yo.
A little bit more yo. Truthfully, I have no idea what that means because I'm not really sure what Mike Yo coaching style really is. And I don't follow the Minnesota Wild quite closely or the St. Louis Blues for that matter.
Right.
But he was never really a coach that stood out for some fantastic coaching style. But clearly, he's doing something different than AV was doing, and now he gets a little bit more time to implement it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's I don't know how much of like a system change they're gonna do because the first time they're gonna be able to do that is probably like Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere around there. I don't know when we play again after this. Is it Friday? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
No, it's Thursday, then Saturday. But so
Yeah,
I mean, you'll be able to start implementing little things in there, but you don't have the benefit of a 2-week training camp, which
for sure.
hey, that would have been really nice for a coach that we knew was going to stick around. And so I think hopefully you start seeing some things, like maybe it's just 1 or 2 little things each game and
Right.
get better, get positive momentum in there. You're not going against Washington for another week. I think the goal is like win these games, but God, you got to get better each and every game at the little things that have been missing in the last 2 weeks.
Right. And I mean, I think that something that I'm going to continue to look for, and I kind of brought this up last episode, which was last night, player utilization. Just how he's utilizing his pieces seems to make a little bit more sense than AV. I don't know what AV was trying to do with some of the decisions that he made, but these guys are slotted in areas you go, okay, yeah, about time.
Right.
Oh,
we didn't bring Keith Yandel in for his plus minus,
Right. Right. And that's the obvious one, right? Why was Keith Yandel never on PP1?
And
now
I think you could argue that for JVR as well. Like
For sure.
why would like that's the one place where that guy can actually thrive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a guy whose literal only skill set is scoring goals.
Right.
Like, put him in every opportunity to do so, which means the power play.
Yeah, I think and it's also the willingness, I think, to try different line combinations.
Right.
I would argue that one of the best lines against Vegas was that third line of Willman, JVR, and Hayes.
Yeah.
And it's like
never in a million years would you think that was a line combo, right?
Right. And like Willman, and maybe this was, part of AV's thing is he just had people slot, and we've heard it said about tons of players like, oh, he's a 4th line guy. Oh, if Morgan Frost can't play in the top 2 lines, he can't be on the team. It's like, No, like let him start at the third line
Right.
and work his way up to the. And so I think maybe there may have been like a more narrow-minded, like boxing players into very specific areas that he was unwilling to compromise on. And so I don't know. I think it's just good. He's like, let me just tinker and see what works. I think the line combo that they played well in Arizona, but not as well in Vegas was that Giroux line.
Yeah.
And I like he and Frost and Atkinson together, like on paper. I think it's really cool. But they were invisible on Friday night, and
Right.
Saturday. Giroux's goal was an awesome goal. Like that was a sick one.
Right.
So I want
Well,
to see them continue to sort of bolster their play.
well, and the player that I need to see show up now is Cam Atkinson.
Right.
Right. I
Right.
mean, we saw glimpses of it in the beginning of the year, but he has really died off.
Yeah.
And he's the
Absolutely.
one person on that line that still needs to start moving,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know? And New Jersey seems like a great time
Yeah. Why,
to
why
do
not?
that.
Why not a Tuesday night game against Jersey? Uh, one of the other things that we touched on last night that I'll bring up again is Blackwood, and he he's got he's gotten 10 wins against us. I think we're 0-8-2 against him. Um, and it's safe to assume that he's gonna start tomorrow night unless something
Right.
drastic happens. And so how do you solve that? And I think, number one, it's the energy and the intensity, but number two is really getting shots, but also the high quality shots that we saw in both the games this weekend.
Right.
I think we saw more high quality chances. I think maybe they had one or two against New Jersey like last week,
Right.
and
Right.
we had a ton the other night, and they're not all going to go in, but you got to make life uncomfortable for him.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is with New Jersey, right? You're not looking at a high scoring team by any stretch of the imagination, right?
Hmm.
I've got it right here. They average 2.81 goals a game.
Hmm.
So it's not like you've got to put up a 5 spot on Mackenzie Blackwood.
Right, right.
You can win this game 3-2.
Hmm.
You know,
That's what I think. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Flyers win, but I think it's going to be 2-1 with an empty netter.
right. Well, somebody better score in the first period because these games, man, if there's no goals in the first period, I'm like, really get boring quick.
you see Flyers between periods come up, and you're just like, I'm done. um no, I think that's a good point. That goes to the confidence. Is all right, Blackwood might be in the Flyers heads a little bit,
Right.
and you're hoping that the confidence coming from the weekend is gonna surpass that. But I think a key is gonna be the first goal, and that's like, yeah, no crap, that's the key for every single team, every single game. Nobody says, oh, our strategy is to let up the first goal, then we start playing. But I think that it'll do well for the confidence, as well as start to put really some doubts into Jersey's head.
But to build off that too, though, Casey, not just scoring the first goal, but when you score it,
Mhm.
right? You don't want Mackenzie Blackwood to shut you out for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then your confidence is going to start to dwindle regardless if New Jersey scored or not.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I agree with you, man. What's anything else from a storyline standpoint before we get into our little segments?
I mean, right now, the Flyers and the Devils are a very similar team.
Yeah, records are almost identical.
Right. Even goals per game, right? The Flyers are scoring 2.5 average.
Mhm.
Goals against, New Jersey's 3.15. The Flyers are 3.31.
Mhm.
It's like the Flyers are slightly worse in everything,
Mhm.
specifically because of the 10-game losing streak that we just went through,
Right.
too.
Right.
But the interesting thing, too, for me is like, for me, the Flyers had high expectations. But
Mhm.
is this the team that the New Jersey Devils are expected to be? Yeah, to my understanding, yes.
Right. I think that the scorecard on the Devils is that they're like, oh, we're in this position because we're young and up and coming.
Right.
Our excuse is, oh, we're weathered and underachieving in an amazing way. And so, like,
Right.
I look at it, it's like we're at the same area, but like on paper, they should be going up year over year, and we might be going down. I
Right.
still don't think that that's the fact, but as I said this, I ran into a guy who is on the skills team over at the Devils, and this was, a couple months ago. Ran into him at a random backyard party around town here, and we got to talking. I was like, "Oh, how are the Devils, looking this year?" And he's like, "They're soft. They're a soft team."
Right.
And he's like, even the guys, like Hughes and stuff like that, it's like they're just kind of soft.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those things where if the Flyers come in, and yes, they have the energy. Yes, they look at Jersey, who's 1 point ahead of them in the standings. It's like, okay, put this losing streak behind you and jump ahead and get physical, because the Flyers play so much better when they physical, because that means they're in the game. Like, and I'm not talking just like cheap BS between the whistles, like,
right.
Just
Or Konechny doing this.
Yeah, yeah, they're Konechny's antics. Like,
right.
I just want to see them be physical, because that means they're into the game.
Right. Tough to play against.
Right. Yep.
Right. Just make them earn everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So then let's do it. The Flyers win if.
I had the physical one down for that, but you go first. Also, I'll think of another one.
All right. I mean, if they're ahead at the end of the first period, that to me, that's it. Right. Whether it's 1-0, 2-1. They need to go into the first intermission going, hey, you know what? They've had our number the last 2 games, but not this time, and we don't have to play from behind. We've solved Mackenzie Blackwood. We've put 1 or 2 goals in there, and then they can just keep going. But yeah, they need to be up by the end of the first period and not tied. Not, it's not like losing is their detriment. I don't want it to be 0-0, 1-1. They've got to be up.
Right. And I think, I guess mine goes along with that, is that they need to control the play in the offensive zone. I think last time when we played them, it was just going in, dump it, okay, move it around, and the Devils are coming out of the zone with speed. I think I want to see us get actual possessions, activate the defenseman early. Don't be afraid to actually do that, and get shots and traffic in front of Blackwood.
For sure. All right, man. Well, I think we pretty much said.
Who's your player? Who's your player that you're watching out for? Wasn't that our other thing?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Was it? But I think I said this before. But Cam Atkinson, right? I mean, to me, it's him. I really like the potential of that line, especially what the other 2 have been able to do. But he's got to start getting it together. Like, I need to see early season Cam Atkinson.
Right.
How about you?
I'm going TK. Konechny, I think, has been buzzing the last couple games. I know he got a couple of assists, but I think for the first time, he's actually really making some plays that are making a difference within this game. And whether or not he scores, I don't really care or not, but it's more about him driving the play and creating opportunities. And, I think it was Lawton who pounded in, or maybe that was Couturier, but he got JVR's assist. Like, he just looks a lot more confident and stable on the puck. And so I'm waiting for him to break out a little bit more. For sure. And we got to see if JVR keeps that goal streak alive, baby. Let's do it. He's on home turf in Jersey. Let's go, JVR.
All right. Well, that being said, I'm John. You can find me at Pod Street Cove. I hate this part. This is the most awkward part of the entire show. Then there's Pod Street Casey. Same thing, except Casey at the end of it. You can find our show's Twitter account at Pod ST Bullies. You can find this show on all your various podcast listening receptacles, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, all of them. Just Google us. Spreaker. I think I'm supposed to mention them. And if you like us, please make sure that you also check out our affiliates at 5 Minute Major and High and Wide Hockey. They also put out really great content. Yeah, and I think that's it, right?
Man, it rolls right off the tongue. Let's go, Flyers.
Get something to just read it. Bye now.